Imagine this. You wake up tomorrow and suddenly every distraction in your life, social media, endless to-do lists, half-finished projects, negative voices, vanishes. You're left with pure focus, laser-like clarity on what matters most. What would you accomplish in a week, in a year, in 5 years? That's the question at the heart of the power of focus. And the crazy part, you don't need a magical potion or a sci-fi brain implant to get there. The tools are already in your hands, you just need to use them differently. When I first read this book, I was juggling about 5 different projects, dropping balls left and right, and wondering why progress felt so slow. Within the first few chapters, I had this aha moment. It wasn't that I lacked motivation, it was that I lacked focus. And that realization alone was worth the price of the book. Stick with me, because we're about to unpack how the power of focus can rewire the way you approach your goals, your habits, and honestly, your entire life. The only way to do great work is to love what you do. Steve Jobs, this quote reminds us that passion fuels excellence. If you don't love what you do, it's tough to put in the energy and creativity needed to stand out. Steve Jobs meant pouring your heart into what excites and challenges you. When you love your work, it doesn't feel like a chore. You push boundaries, innovate, and overcome setbacks. Greatness happens through genuine connection to your purpose. Steve Jobs was fired from Apple, the company he co-founded. Instead of giving up, he pursued what he loved, technology and design. He started Next and Pixar, fueled by passion. Apple later brought him back, and he transformed it into an innovative giant. His story shows that loving your work builds resilience, bouncing back when things get tough. So today, reflect on what parts of your work truly excite you. Focus more energy there. Even small shifts, learning a skill, or changing your approach, make work fulfilling. Remember, greatness starts with loving what you do. Find that spark and watch your effort turn extraordinary. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe. So let's set the stage. The Power of Focus was written by 3 giants in the self-development world. Jack Canfield and Victor Hansen, the creators of the Chicken Soup for the Soul series. Yep, the guys who built one of the most successful publishing empires ever by collecting and sharing stories of hope and inspiration. And Les Hewitt, a performance coach who's worked with entrepreneurs and leaders for decades, helping them zero in on what really drives results. The book was first published in 2000. And here's the wild thing. It's just as relevant now, maybe even more so. Think about it. Back then, people were getting distracted by phone calls, TV, and the occasional email. Now, we carry a distraction factory in our pockets, buzzing and pinging 24/7. If focus was important then, it's survival now. The book promises one big thing. If you can learn to focus consistently on the habits and strategies that actually matter, you'll achieve more with less stress, more clarity, and more balance. And I know balance might sound like a boring word, but let's be honest, we all crave it. Who doesn't want success without burnout? Who doesn't want to hit goals without sacrificing relationships or health? That's what these 3 authors set out to teach us. Instead of a traditional plot, this book unfolds around 10 habits, practical principles you can apply. I'm not going to dump all 10 at once. Instead, let's walk through the journey they take us on. Habit 1. Clarity creates mastery. One of the very first lessons is about getting crystal clear on what you want. Not, I want to be rich, or I want to be happier, but laser-sharp clarity. Imagine your goals written on a movie poster. You can see it, feel it, almost touch it. When I tried this exercise myself, I realized I had been setting vague goals, like, I want to get healthier. But what does that mean? Lose 10 pounds, run a marathon, sleep 8 hours a night. Clarity turns someday into something you can actually measure and pursue. And here's the kicker. Clarity isn't just about goals. It's about values. What really matters to you? Because if you chase goals that don't line up with your core values, you're going to feel hollow even if you achieve them. Habit 2. Focus on your strengths. This chapter hit me hard. We live in a world obsessed with fixing weaknesses. If you're bad at math, get a tutor. If you're shy, take a public speaking class. But what if the secret isn't fixing weaknesses? It's doubling down on strengths? The authors argue that the most successful people don't waste time trying to become mediocre at what they're bad at. They outsource, delegate, or simply accept their weak spots. Instead, they invest in what they're naturally great at. Think about Michael Jordan trying to become a professional golfer. He was already the best basketball player in the world, but golf? Not his lane. Why not pour energy into the thing you're already elite at? That's the power of focus. Habit 3. Habits rule your life. This is where it gets real practical. We all know habits shape us, but the book breaks it down into daily choices. The little things you do automatically, like hitting snooze or grabbing your phone first thing, determine the big outcomes. One example the book gives is the hour of power. Imagine dedicating just 60 minutes every morning to personal development, reading, exercising, planning your day. That 1 hour compounds over months and years into massive results. And here's a fun analogy. Habits are like autopilot settings on a plane. You don't notice them once they're set, but they determine where you land. Habit 4. Relationships build wealth. This was refreshing because most success books focus only on personal grind, but these authors say, no, your relationships are everything. Whether it's business partnerships, friendships, or your family, the people around you either lift you up or drag you down. They even talk about relationship audits, looking at your circle and asking, who energizes me and who drains me? I'll be honest. The first time I tried this exercise, I felt guilty. But then I realized, why am I investing in relationships that consistently pull me backwards? And it's not just cutting people out, it's also about nurturing the good ones. Sending that thank you note, checking in, being intentional. Success without meaningful relationships is basically failure in disguise. Habit 5. Balance the big four areas of life: health, wealth, relationships, and spirituality. The book argues that neglecting any one of these throws your entire life off balance. And I love that they include spirituality, not necessarily in a religious sense, but as purpose, meaning, connection to something bigger than yourself. Because let's face it, plenty of people have money, health, and friends, but still feel empty. This habit ties it all together. Now, I won't walk through every single habit here, because that would basically be a 4-hour audiobook, but the rest of the book continues in this vein. Practical strategies, mindset shifts, and stories from real people who've applied these ideas to create real results. By this point, you can feel the buildup. It's not just theory, it's a toolkit for redesigning your life. Now, since this isn't fiction, there aren't characters in the traditional sense. But what we do have are the authors themselves and the countless people they reference. Jack Canfield and Victor Hansen come across as those super optimistic, big picture thinkers, the visionaries who want to inspire you with stories. Les Hewitt balances them out as the coach, the strategist, the guy who says, okay, but how do we actually implement this? And then there are the characters of the everyday achievers in the book. Entrepreneurs, athletes, and professionals who embody these habits. They're relatable because they're not superheroes. They're just people who decided to focus differently. When I think about the main character of this book, honestly, it's you, the reader. The whole framework is designed so that you become the protagonist of your own story. The big theme? Focus beats scatter. We live in a culture that celebrates multitasking, but neuroscience tells us multitasking is basically a myth. Our brains just switch rapidly between tasks, which actually makes us less efficient. This book pushes back hard against that myth. Another theme is consistency over intensity. You don't need to burn yourself out with huge efforts. Small, consistent focus compounds over time. It's like investing. Steady deposits grow into wealth. Symbolically, I think of focus as a magnifying glass. Hold it steady and the sunlight can burn through paper. Move it around too much and all you get is scattered light. Let's zoom out. When this book dropped in 2000, the self-help boom was in full swing. Tony Robbins was filling arenas. Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People was changing corporate culture. The internet was just starting to reshape how we worked and lived. And here come Canfield, Hansen, and Hewitt with a message that cut through the noise. In a world of growing distractions, focus will be your superpower. Fast forward to now with TikTok, Instagram, and constant notifications. And the book almost feels prophetic. They were warning us about a problem that's exploded tenfold in the last 2 decades. Fun fact, the book has been reprinted multiple times, adapted for entrepreneurs, and even used in corporate training. It's one of those quiet classics that might not be as flashy as others, but it keeps circulating because the message never expires. So here's the $1 million question. Where in your life are you scattered right now? Maybe it's career. Maybe it's health. Maybe it's relationships. If you could pick just one area to sharpen your focus starting tomorrow, which would make the biggest difference? I want you to drop that in the comments, because sometimes just naming it out loud or typing it creates accountability. And if this book resonates with you, I'd recommend pairing it with Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People or James Clear's Atomic Habits. They all weave together beautifully: clarity, focus, and habits. At the end of the day, the power of focus isn't about working harder. It's about working smarter, with intention, with clarity, and with balance. If this deep dive fired you up, hit that like button, subscribe for more book breakdowns, and share this video with a friend who could use some focus in their life. Thanks for sticking with me through this journey. I'll see you in the next one.